Welcome to Coach SG and Friends, where we discuss topics that help you have a better relationship with yourself and others. I am Coach SG, otherwise known as your joyful friend. I'm a relationship coach and life mentor, an entrepreneur and speaker. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but originally from Brooklyn, New York. I love great music, deep conversations, and inspiring people to live their best emotional lives and create their most amazing love story. Let me introduce you to my two friends, Janessa Rose and Lisa Miranda. Janessa is the CEO of Motivational Monsters, a nonprofit that helps people activate mental health and emotional well-being through creative arts. She is the author of How to Stop Being an Effing Bum. BUM stands for Broken Urban Mentality. She's been dubbed the Tony Robbins / Cardi B of motivational speakers, and she calls herself the Galactic Goddess. Lisa Miranda is an actor and creative director. She's also dabbling in producing. She is based in Miami, New York, and Paris. She is a world traveler who speaks several languages, who loves life, good people, and good conversation. So we want to welcome you to our podcast. Let's get started. All right, ladies. Welcome to this week's episode where we're talking about moving in together. So as usual, we just want to have topics that we feel like people are like maybe struggling with and help them remove some roadblocks for themselves. So the topic is moving together and the challenges we face when we move together. So what do you think are some of the challenges that come up when you move together? I mean, I have a few, but what do you guys think it is?
Balance of you in your relationship. You still need space. I know something that was hard for me is if I'm going out with someone, I give them all of my attention when I'm out. But if we live together, how do I give myself enough attention? How do I still manage my needs and while being respectful of the other person's needs, but not losing myself totally to responsibility? You know what I'm saying? I think that's a big one for me and a lot of women.
Right. So what do you think the answer is then? I love that because I believe it's true.
What I've discovered is setting time for myself, like, okay, these are my hours, or these are the things I need to do, making it clear to my partner that I'm doing these things so I don't, like, decide to, what I'm saying, get carried away and do something else or put my stuff to the back burner. So setting time aside for me and making sure that when I do have important things to do, everybody knows so that we can respect my to-do list or my goal setting as well.
Right. I agree.
It's been such a while since I've shared space with a person I'm seeing in the sense of like living together. So to be honest, I feel like I don't know what to do like with that. I'm scared of that as well, sharing space. And so I don't know. I feel like a student in this episode because I'm like, well, what do we do? I got this thing where I'm like, I don't even want to move in with anyone unless we're getting married. You can spend the night, you can overspend the night, you can spend weeks, you can spend months, but this is my house. I've lived in that space, and I don't know if that really works for me. That might be me. That might make somebody else feel a way. So like that's my thing. Like I really, it's been a while since I've lived with a person.
And I think we're all students. I don't think that we ever just get all the lessons. I think each time we just learn a little bit more. But I would think just acclimating to each other, I think, is a process. So, and I don't think that there's one way to do it. I think it depends on who you're moving in with and who moved in with who. Did you get like your own spot and together, or is it their spot and now you're moving into their spot, or is it your spot and they're moving in? I think because when it's like that, there's rules already established. So and things have to change. So I think we can just talk about what that would look like. I think I don't know. For me, I think it's I feel like it's a little bit harder when you're moving in with someone else, when you're moving into somebody else's space where the rules are already established. Because then there's a way that things are done, there's a way that the house is, there's a way that things are run. And then when you move in, you disrupt that a little bit because you may want things a little bit different. And so I think it's always best to move in together, as a couple, than to move into somebody else's space. But that may not always work. So, Janessa, you said that. So it's been a while since you lived with someone. The last time you did live with someone, was it easy or was it hard to be together?
For me, it feels good. I get excited about being able to build a home with someone. But the last person that I really lived with, that I was in love with, um, this was the famous relationship I always talk about, the longest one, and they treated me really bad when I lived with them. I felt like I wasn't allowed to do certain things. They didn't share the space. It was more like I'm a disruptor in their flow. And
Mhm.
I had been with them for so long prior to them having their own space, and I've been usually the one they lived with. And I'm open to sharing my space. I'm very nurturing in the sense of, oh, I get to set you a space. I get to share. I get to give you, here's your own dresser. Here's your own space. This is your own room. If I have an extra room, so on and so forth. Um, and when I lived with them, I was kind of going through something. And so I was in their space. It was a small place. And I felt very like I remember this person yelling at me because I used too many paper towels. And I think that scarred me because when I think about it, sometimes whenever I have this, sometimes I see paper towels and I think about it and I'm like, that was horrible. Because I remember feeling so hurt, like they're made to throw out. I don't know. It was clear that I was like my presence in their home, in their first space was a problem. So it was hurtful to me, and I didn't feel necessarily at home, even though I was living there. I felt like
Right.
I was just like
Did you
in.
did you move in with him?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's those established rules already about the toilet paper and the paper towels and how things are done.
I was. Yeah, it was hard, and the reason why it was really hard was because of how much I cared for the person. So to see them show me like this is how I am with my things, and now there's this all of a sudden this limit on sharing things. I don't know. It traumatized me. It was weird. It was very.
Okay.
With shared space, not communicating properly. Like I had an issue where my partner felt like I wasn't doing enough around the house. Um, and I had no idea because he just kept burying it until one day he finally just exploded, and I couldn't even understand. I was like, "So are you mad because laundry? Are you mad because food?" I went to bed thinking he felt he was going hungry around. It was just very confused. I was very confused because it was something that builds up and wasn't communicated. And then when he made it clear, like, hey, if you're here more often than I'm not, if you can, here's certain things where if you don't mind taking care of these chores, and we never had another problem again. But it was just some things that I was not clear about. So I can't do what I don't know.
Right.
And that was also an example of me going into someone else's space where I wasn't actually living there full time, but enough where I needed to take more responsibility in the house. But I think it's the communication is the communication gets tricky because I know sometimes you don't want to offend or you just like, it's probably going to go away or I could just do it. But I just can't stress enough how you got to talk with the person that you're living with before it builds up and kills you. And it's funny that Janessa is talking about the paper towels because that's my mom. If I cut a paper towel into like four, she would think I did a great job. But if I'm just using a whole paper towel, let alone two or three, it's hell. So you have to have these conversations because otherwise you don't want to have to fight over frivolous things, and that's what ends up happening.
Right. So let's go back to, so what are the things that come up? I think one of the things that comes up that I don't think that, and this is just really, we just don't have enough discussion before we move in together, right? So we don't define roles. Would you guys agree? I think one of the things that I feel like, and maybe it's maybe more for my type, I don't know, but I think people have ideas of what, maybe a man's supposed to do in the house, a woman's supposed to do in the house, who's going to be in charge of what. Like, does it, I think there's like kind of default roles that we give each other, like, oh, okay, well, you should be the one that's cleaning because you're always home, or you're the one that should be doing what. So I think we don't define roles. Would you agree? And do you have any examples of how that's happened in your life?
I definitely agree with that. We don't set the rules. Everybody has their own perception of what each gender is supposed to be doing. And in my personal experience, one of the things was I remember I was cooking one time and he was like, "What do you think because you clean and you cook all the time, that that's good enough?" Like, and I'm like, "What do you want me to do? Pay your rent?" I'm not gonna like, because in my mind, the man is taking care of the rent. Like, you're not, you pay the rent. It's not my job. That's
Right.
me. And it's the same thing. Like if we'd have known that prior, then we probably would have moved a different way about things. Like, all right, listen, I expect you to chip in for the rent, and I'd have been like, I expect you to live alone. Pay my own rent. You're not gonna tell me I can't use the paper towels and I gotta pay the rent. You fucking-
That's called a roommate.
Yes, thank you. That's, this is why I say, and I stand by this. This is why I say if you're not planning to marry me, right? There's no sense in us living together because you're not going to keep getting wife benefits without making me your wife. And it's important. Like we can date and we can build a life together. You can have your own space and I can have mine, and you can spend the night and I can spend the night. And you can even have a key to my place and come in whenever you want. But it's a different aspect when you're talking about me moving in, and because I'm a female, I'm supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z, or because you want me to pay half the bills, or I watch the TV, which I don't. That's another thing. Like you need help with Wi-Fi, and I'm never even watching cable type. This is not a roommate type of a deal. So this is my personal thing. Is like if you marry me, then we can have these talks. Then certain things are my role. These are the things I'm comfortable with doing as a wife. You know what I mean?
But I have a question for you. Don't you think it's important to establish that first so people know? Because one of the, I don't know if you guys saw my post when I asked what were the top 2 3 relationship issues, and the kind of the thing that kept coming up was finances, and I wanted to get more clarity around finances. And I don't think there's a right way and a wrong way. I think there's just your way and their way, and if do they mesh. And if you feel like when you go, if you're in a relationship with a man, and he's supposed to take care of everything financially, that's fine. There's no judgment in that. But he needs to know that, right? Before you move in. You only want to wait till you get married and then find out, right?
So I agree 100% with that. And yeah, you have to disclose all of this. This is why I say, like, don't even worry about moving in with me unless you're worried about marrying me. If you're like, yo, I love this chick, I want to marry her, cool. But even finances is sometimes a woman can make more money. If I make more money and I'm in love with somebody who makes less money, and we decide on moving in together with or without marriage, then the plan is to build toward that and to say what makes most sense for us. Because I love you. I'm not trying to just be like, I'm a woman. I ain't paying the rent, even though I make twice as much as you. You know what I mean? That
Right.
that that's a different thing. But if we have a plan to build towards either a commitment together, building a life together, or a marriage, depending on how the man felt, you know what I'm saying? Then we can figure out who's paying what, if we're half 50-50, if what, because there is a common goal. We're building our home, not you contributing to my apartment, me contributing to your stability. That's a different type of dynamic and a different level of living together. If you're already established and you're like, yo, I got this dope chick who makes a lot of money, pay half my rent because I'm broke and I'm a starving artist, like, blow me. That's not happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, no offense, but sorry, but not happening because I could be with you for 5 years, help you get on your feet, pay all your bills because I make more. I love you, and I'm trying to get to this committed or established place with you, and then all of a sudden you're on your feet. Like, I'm good. I feel great about myself. I met somebody new. She makes double as much as you. I'm moving to her place now. I'm good.
Right.
But even if you're married, that could still happen.
Yeah,
And it
true,
often does, you know?
true, true, true. But at least that's a good point, Lisa, because that just stopped me like real quick, like shit. It is true.
So defining roles, I think, is really important, and if and the financial one seems to come up a lot. It comes up a lot. I think, people feel like, if you're moving in a shared space, some people feel like you should pay half, right? Even if you're, got different levels of finances, or they may feel like, well, since you're the man, you should pay for everything, or whoever makes the most money should pay for everything. So
Yeah.
how would you suggest somebody gets through that? I'll let you go, Lisa.
It's interesting because I've seen different things work out with different people. One of my friends, when she and her man moved in together, he was making a lot more, but they were going to pay half. But then her father stepped in and said to the guy, "Hey, do you think this makes sense? Do you think this is fair for my daughter?" And that saved her from having to have a conversation or for having to chip in more than her fair share. I too, I have like a lot of pride. I want to be able to take care of my stuff, but I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that makes sense financially for me and my circumstance. So I think you have to know who you're moving in with, know if they're generous, know if they're cheap. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't think they're going to change. They will not, if they were cheap, they're not going to become generous. If they bought terrible toilet paper, they're not going to buy the most expensive, best quality years later. It ain't happening. Okay, it's not just who's paying the bills, but what is the quality of life like?
Right.
And understanding and making sure it matches with not just where you are right now, but where you're going, because you can say, it could be like right now, this is the best that I can do, but I hope that this is where it goes. And if the other person's like, I'm happy with where I'm at right now, this is all good for me, you have to hear that. I've heard someone say before, start where you want to finish, so make sure you go into this, you've communicated, if they're going to hold you down, if you lose your job, if you get injured, that you have the savings, that you have, that if they can't work, you can handle it. The financial problems can cripple a relationship. It doesn't mean you have to be rich to have a good relationship, but you guys have to want to speak the same money language. And if someone has unhealthy spending habits, I know I'm going off, but I hear this.
No, I love it.
Like my best friend in high school, her dad would spend most of his check on the scratch tickets, and they would just hope like it would work out. And I'm just like, your mom's cool with that? She's like, no, it's so much stress. But he's a good guy. So she says, so understand what kind of lifestyle do you want? And it's not necessarily passing a judgment on someone else, but understanding, can we build something that I foresee myself in, so that you don't end up, like Janessa said, saying, well, thanks for the stepping stone, but I gotta go because there's something better, where you're actually building together, not just trying to get to the next destination.
Right. I love that. You went deep, girl. You went deep. Here's the thing though. I think that, especially with financial issues, I think that it's just a topic that people are sensitive about. And so we don't address it really. We don't talk about it really. We don't want to seem like we don't have enough or whatever. So we don't really say like, here's what I provide, here's what you provide, or I want to be the person who provides everything. Or maybe that's how it was in the beginning, but now it's changed and they don't want to have that anymore. But I think what gets missing is the conversation about what works for you at the time. Because if somebody has really bad spending habits, I'm sure it didn't just get that way, right? But there still has to be a solution. And I think the solution could be like, okay, well, it's not really about me managing your, how many tickets you're buying, but here's your money that you could do with whatever you want. Here's my money that I could do whatever you want. And whatever you choose to spend it on is what you choose to spend it on. But you can't start dipping into the stuff that's for rent and mortgage and health insurance or whatever. I think there just has to be a conversation.
The conversation changes too as you start building with one another. You also mentioned something just 2 seconds ago about the person who wants to be the provider.
Mhm.
That's another thing. Sometimes people are not even honest enough to say, you know what? I am I with this person because they look good or they feel good and because this, that, and the third? Or is this a person that I care about so deeply that I want to do the right thing by, that I want to create a security for them? But is this a person that you say, I don't want to see them struggle financially. I don't want them to have to do things they don't love in order to bring in security to the home that we're building together. Do I want to stress them out? Do I want them to work their tail off and give me and give me and I'm not giving anything back? Those things also need to be considered in the relationship. That's what builds the type of financial structure you guys are standing on. Foundation, I should say, financial foundation. And that's important because if you love your partner, you're not trying to disregard their life and how the quality of their life. That takes that's everything, how they're living in the home, how they're working. You want them to go to work with a feeling empowered and encouraged, not like, oh, I gotta go and I gotta work my ass off at a job or doing something I hate so I can come pay bills or buy this chick shoes or whatever. Because I know so many people too that are like, girls, and this is no offense to people out there that's like this, but a lot of women think like men could just like gimme, 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 gimme. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of dudes like that too that are like, yo, shorty, like I don't gotta get a job. Like you do it. You got the security. Because a lot of women now are me get to it because I can't depend on nothing else. So it doesn't really matter. And that's what has to be considered. Like, do I want to treat this person like a give me? Like, are you a gimme or are you a here? Are you taking or are you giving? And that's important because even and also I want to add to my partner. I want whatever they're doing or whatever they're into, I want to be an asset to that because I love them and I want to make sure that they understand that my energy sharing with them is not to waste. I'm not just taking. And I think that's really important about what you said about the who wants to be the provider. You got to consider, do you care enough about a person to truly want to provide, or are you just looking at them like a leg up?
I think it's also based on like our upbringing, our culture, like what we feel like we're attached more to. Like if when I was married, right, I felt more comfortable with him providing me with everything because that's how I was brought up. That's how I believe that it's supposed to be. Now I feel a little bit different and things are different. So the roles have changed, but I think it's really important to just kind of I think what we don't do is have the conversation. We just assume, we make a lot of assumptions when we move together about finances, about who's going to handle what. Like,
Yeah, it's funny because the first time I went and lived with someone, when it didn't work out, my aunt was like, "Didn't I tell you you're never supposed to live with someone before you're married with them? Don't do that. Like, why would you do that?" And I just really I wanted to believe that you could live with someone even if you're not married, but I didn't know myself enough to be mature enough to handle the situation of living with someone. Like one of the first mistakes I made was that I had so much pride. I lied about how much rent I had been paying in my last place. I put maybe an extra couple $100 on it, right? So he could really think that I was, like I was taking care of myself. But now we have this new rent to split, and he thinks I can handle that amount, and I can't. And then I just remember before I moved out, a year and some change later, It just got to the point where I was working like 3 jobs or something, right? And he works from home, and he had a very he just had a job that he could do real easy on the computer or whatever. And here I was busting my ass and going to auditions, like 3 jobs. And I came home one day and he was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm so proud of all the work you're doing. I was furious. Instead of taking that as a compliment, I was just like, what am I doing? This is so stupid. He should just pay all of this. And I don't know. So it's just like there's all this pride in how you're seen, especially if you build with someone for a short time, or if you're if you're still immature.
Right.
So I mean, being okay with where you are, being okay if you need to ask for help, being okay if the rules have to change. Being able to, because the real reason to live with someone is because you can trust and love each other and take care and protect each other. So putting your ego aside and being able to do that is very, very, very powerful stuff.
Spill right there just touched me because it really did. I was raised with my mom and my dad living together. And I remember when I was younger, my parents were about 23 when they had me. 23, my dad might be 25. And now I'm in my 30s. I look at that, I'm like, damn, they were young.
Mm.
And they lived in a small ass apartment, 28th Street in Brooklyn. And like my mother ran everything in the house, and my father trusted her to do that. But as we all grew as a family, I noticed that my dad still to this day, he's so entrusting and needing of her to do those things and be that woman for him. That's what he's comfortable with. That's how he feels. I guess like my wife is a good mom. She's a great wife. She takes care of me. She takes care of my home. She takes care of my children. And I so subconsciously that has really had like an impression on me when I date. And what you said earlier about somebody telling you that they were proud of you. When I was with my ex, I remember when I lived with him, I would get up at, because he used to have to get up really early. So I would have to get up early with him, take over because I don't drive. He would have to drive me, drop me off at the train station so I can go start working. And I used to clean. I had a small cleaning company and I would just clean. I had a couple clients and I would clean their homes, but I'd work from like 6 a.m. to like 11 p.m. at night and go all throughout the boroughs. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. And I was in the same space. I'm like, why would you let me do this? Like, take care of me, bro. I'll take care of the house. When your dinner's cooked, I'll dress in costumes, whatever.
That's the thing, right? And this is why I advocate about doing this assessment, this relationship assessment every year, is because there's certain areas, there's financial, there's health, there's relationships like with family, with friends, and what's the last one? Just in time. That I think those are kind of the 4 buckets that get pressured when you move together, because there's a way that you move through life. And I know for me, like if I'm spending my money, like the only one that gets bothered is me. But if you're in a relationship with somebody who's focused on like wanting to save money, and there's dreams that they have, and things they want to do, that me buying that extra shirt could really set somebody off, or you use that extra piece of paper towel.
Well, you got me with the clothing too, because let me tell you, that's right. That's 100% right. Because I'm a spender. Like I go shopping. I ain't got no kids. I ain't in no marriages, and I like to look good at all. I like to have outfits for shit I don't even know I'm doing yet.
But so say you get with somebody who doesn't mind being in charge of the finances, and say you're doing your thing, and when you blow up, then you add value to here. But if you're used to spending all the time, and he's getting whatever, then it becomes about the little piece of paper towel, when it really isn't about the paper towel. It's about they're just trying to really save money. So
Yeah, but that's the thing. In my personal experience, that person didn't want to build with me. That person wanted to build themselves.
mm.
And had they had been able, because that's what that person chose, You understand what I'm saying? No matter what. Because I added in whatever way I wanted to. And I was constantly adding in like ideas. I was like, let's build this together. Let's do this together. There was no there was nothing but rejection for whatever I said and try to communicate like, well, how can we build together? How can I add to what you want to do? Because I'm aggressive, but I'm also submissive. If you're leading, then I'm okay to follow, but I need to see where you're leading me. I'm not going to just let you mislead me and mistreat me.
That sounds like another show. Because how could you be submissive and aggressive at the same
No, because I am. Because I am. If I know that the person I'm with is like, you know what? I think that we should build toward this. I want to build a business, and I need for you to do X, Y, and Z and be that for me. While I do that, that will contribute to what I'm doing for us. Then I feel like, oh, light bulb. I can submit to that. That's a good cause that benefits me, that benefits them. I'm okay with that. And I'll submit to that, and I'll do X, Y, and Z. No, seriously.
Right.
Sounds like you're a team player.
Right? It's funny because you said, if all the conditions are how I want it, then I'll submit to it.
No. I didn't say that. I said if it's beneficial for me and them.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
No, really, it is. If you're my man and you're like, yo, I want to build a new company, and I need you to answer the phones, quit your job, and answer my phones. And trust me, this I'm building for us. Okay, I know I can't guarantee, he probably can't guarantee it, but this is the plan, and I believe it and I trust it. Then I will be like, all right, let's build, and I'll sacrifice and I'll be submissive in that sense. I'm not gonna be like, oh hell no, whatever. I would be that way, but I'm assertive in what is good for me. If it's good for me, then okay. And if I see that you're doing something that's misleading me, I might aggress you a little bit. Like, yo, you fucking said this, that, and the third. Sorry for the curses. But you know what I'm saying? So I have that ability to be assertive, but also be like, all right, cool. This is what you want to do. This is what you think will be putting you in the best position. And it's also going to benefit me because I'm helping you build it. I get to feel needed, like an asset to you and to us. And this is building us a future. I'm okay with that. I'm down for that. I'm a person that wants to build with my partner. So I'm okay with that. But that person in the past, they wanted to build for self. They wanted me to do things, but they didn't want me to benefit. They just wanted me to be quiet and let them treat me the way they wanted to treat me.
Right. Yeah, that's something else. My joyful friends, we have come to the end of this episode. Don't forget to check out next week's episode. We appreciate you listening and would love your feedback. So drop a comment below and don't forget to hit subscribe.